Welcome, teachers. So, let's talk about teaching students how to find and use evidence. It can feel like a huge challenge, right? But what if I told you there was a really simple, super memorable way to make it all just click for them? Well, in this guide, we're going to walk through a complete lesson plan built around one core idea that you can literally take and adapt for your classroom tomorrow.
Okay, so our journey today is going to follow that classic teaching model we all know and love. We'll start by breaking down the standard itself, then I'll model the main strategy. After that, we'll dive right into guided practice, then independent work, and finally, we'll talk about how to know for sure if your students have really got it.
All right, first up, let's decode the standard. I mean, if we're not totally crystal clear on the goal, how can we possibly expect our students to be? This is all about getting a handle on the what and the why before we even think about touching the how.
When you boil it all down, this standard is really about two main things. First, we're teaching our students to become little information detectives. Finding sources that are not only trustworthy, but are also on topic. And second, we're showing them how to actually use that information to back up their own ideas. It's a huge life skill.
The first step is to build that shared vocabulary, and we're going to start with a big one, credibility. We want our students to start asking themselves questions like, is this source trustworthy? Can I really believe what it's telling me? Just framing it like that helps them think like detectives on the hunt for reliable clues. Next up is relevance. I love to tell my students that a source can be 100% true, but if it doesn't help answer their specific question, it's really just noise. I mean, a book about sharks might be super credible, but it's not relevant at all if you're researching sea turtles, right? It's all about staying focused.
And then, of course, we have the evidence itself. This is the good stuff they're looking for, those specific facts, the little details, or the direct quotes they can pull from a source to prove their point. This is really the heart of their research.
And finally, we introduce the idea of citation, which, becomes especially important as we get into 5th grade. We frame it really simply. It's just about giving credit where credit is due. And this isn't just some random rule. It's a huge foundational skill for all the research they're going to do for years to come.
So with that vocabulary in our back pocket, how do we get students to actually use it? Well, this brings us to the core strategy of our lesson, the fact sandwich. This is our I-do moment, where you, the teacher, get to model the entire thinking process out loud for your class.
The real power of the fact sandwich is just how simple it is. It takes this really abstract idea, structuring an argument with evidence, and turns it into a concrete, memorable visual that a 3rd, 4th, or even 5th grader can get their hands on immediately. And this isn't just a research skill, it's literally the building block of a strong paragraph.
The process is so simple. The top slice of bread, that's their main idea, their topic sentence. The filling in the middle, that's the cool fact or piece of evidence they found. And that bottom slice of bread, that's their own explanation, connecting that piece of evidence right back to their main idea.
Modeling this with a think aloud is absolutely key. You might say something like, "Okay, class, watch this. My main idea, my top slice of bread, is that sea turtles are endangered. Now, I need my filling, a fact from my source. Ooh, here's a good one. Sea turtles often mistake plastic bags for food. Now for my bottom bread, I just have to connect them. This proves my idea, because eating all that plastic can seriously harm them. See how that all fits together?"
All right, you've done the I-do. You've modeled it perfectly. Now it's time to hand over some of that responsibility with the we-do. This is our guided practice phase, where the students get to try it out with you right there as their safety net.
A fantastic first activity is to make a class anchor chart. Just draw a big T-chart and work together to sort different sources into credible and less credible piles. This gets that crucial conversation started about why a science book by an expert has more weight than, say, a random blog post claiming sharks are aliens. And if you want a differentiator, kick it up a notch, try an evidence sort. Give student groups a bunch of different pieces of evidence about a single topic. Their job is to sort them into 3 piles: strong, weak, or just plain irrelevant. But here's the most important part. They have to stand up and justify their choices to the class. That's where the real learning happens.
Okay, and now we move into the you-do, where students get to apply all these skills on their own. The goal here is to give them a really clear, focused task that sets them up for success.
A simple graphic organizer like this one can be a total game changer for independent work. It scaffolds the whole process for them, but you have to pay close attention to that last column. Why is it relevant? That's the magic column that forces students to connect the evidence back to their own thinking.
So their independent task is pretty straightforward. Using that source tracker, they need to find 1 or 2 key pieces of evidence about their topic and then use that evidence to build their own fact sandwiches, just like you showed them.
And finally, how do we know they've actually got it? Let's talk about how to check for understanding and what mastery of this standard really looks and sounds like in your students' work.
So when you're checking for mastery, the magic word you're listening for is because. A student who really gets it won't just say a source is good, they'll say, this source is credible because it was written by an expert. And their bottom bread on their sandwich will make a super clear, logical connection. That's when you know they've got it.
And here's your takeaway, ready to go, a perfect, low-stakes exit ticket. Just have your students write one fact sandwich about something they learned in class that day. It's a really quick, powerful check that gives you a crystal clear snapshot of who's ready to move on and who might need just a little more support tomorrow.